You want me to put that on my todger?
Harry's wife, the revision of Curtsy. The Shitflix docuseries Harry and Harry's Wife was full of a load of bollocks, from manufactured appearances in front of a bank of paparazzi and photographers, which was at a Harry Potter premiere, through to footage that was taken from a clamouring mob from a politician, rather than relating to Harry's wife. No surprise that fabrication is involved, because this is a thread that runs very much through the life of Harry's wife. Perhaps, however, one of the most startling images which many people remember from this clusterfuck of a show was the total disrespect that Harry's wife exhibited for the late Queen Elizabeth II with relation to the mock curtsy. The childishness of her behaviour when she engaged in it, the over-exaggerated deep curtsy that she demonstrated while sat on the sofa, surfacing with rictus grin on her face, thinking that she was hilarious, and then giving a sideways glance to her husband, who could do nothing but look downwards in embarrassment. I should imagine at that juncture, Ginger Bollocks, for all of the fact that he turned into a simp, would be thinking, I would quite readily drive a rusty meat hook into your malformed cranium. Nevertheless, he just had to sit there and take it, much in the same way that he receives the Black Mamba vibrator when it's rammed up his yitter by his handler. In that programme, Harry's wife demonstrated, although it was no surprise to those of us watching, the levels to which she would sink, mocking a woman who had given over 70 years' service to her country, who had put up with various errant family members, including a half-wit grandson, who had somehow managed to allow a snake to slither into the royal family. Showing a complete disregard for the status and service of the late Queen Elizabeth II, Harry's wife not only deems it appropriate to mock her, but to have that appear in the documentary also. Naturally, this caused outrage amongst right-thinking individuals, such a blatant display of disrespect, mocking the late Queen in such a manner, and doing so with such glee. It's not a surprise, because Harry's wife essentially is a nasty piece of work, but moreover, she lacks the actual ability to recognise the circumstances in which such behaviour ought to be demonstrated or not. It might be one thing to do it behind closed doors and show her husband, but she thinks it's appropriate to include it while she's being interviewed. In that instance, of course, what she's doing is seeking to assert control over both the interviewer and the audience. She thinks she's hilarious. She thinks she's clever. You can see on her face in the video footage, which I'm sure you've seen many times, the glee that's plastered across her face as she believes that what she's doing is funny. It once again demonstrates that she has no sense of humour. What she doesn't realise, of course, is the massive collateral consequence which arises from this behaviour, namely, though people disliked her before, their dislike for her increased all the more as a consequence of this wanton behaviour. That people thought, who the fuck do you think you are? How dare you behave in that manner, mocking the late Queen Elizabeth II? You are a nobody. You are a grasping grifter that has wormed her way into an institution which the Queen has kept, in some might say almost single-handedly, on the straight and narrow for many decades. You do not understand the meaning of service. You do not understand the meaning of dedication, decorum, and conducting yourself in an appropriate manner. Even Harry, dickhead as he has become, had the good grace to look embarrassed by his wife's behaviour. She did this because she deemed it to be appropriate. She did this because she was smearing a dead queen. She did this because she thought she was funny behaving this way. Very few shared her humour. However, this has been picked up on time and time again, and the repetition of the dislike and disdain and disapproval of the way that she behaved amounts to challenge fuel for Harry's wife. And such is the repeated threat to control that is posed, news reaches me as a consequence of a tweet from somebody called the Wanton Wench, who stated, "It is rumoured that Meghan now wants this," the Curtsy footage, "removed from their Netflix mockumentary. Too late, love. It's etched in everyone's memory forever." And the Wanton Wench references a tweet of her own showing the mocking Curtsy. Why would Harry's wife be engaging in this? Well, first of all, she receives repeated threats to her control by people commenting about her disgusting behaviour. Therefore, typical of a narcissist, she then wants to erase the fact that she did it in order to nullify that threat to control. Remember, she doesn't view it in terms of a threat to control, she just finds that it's awkward, unpleasant, that people make reference to this. 2. It creates deniability. By removing it, if anyone were to ever mention it in the future, she would deny that it ever happened. Yes, that's the way that her narcissism works, by way of the compartmentalization. It causes her to believe that it didn't happen because it doesn't exist any longer. Naturally, that isn't the case. Naturally, it is not the case that it didn't happen, never existed. But that's the way that her narcissism functions. If it's not there, it didn't happen, and therefore I can dismiss it. It also, of course, demonstrates the stupidity of her narcissism, because plenty of people remember full well what she did. Plenty of people remember the way that she behaved. And the fact that she attempts to deny it doesn't cause them to go, "Oh yeah, you're right, it doesn't exist, it never happened. I don't know what I was thinking of, I must have dreamt it." Instead, it leads them to think, "You're a disgusting human being. First of all, you behave that way, you have it included in your mockumentary, and then you try and have it removed, or you have it removed." The fact is, even if she attempts to do so, as the Wanton Wench identifies, it's too late. It is etched in everybody's memory forever. So many people were disgusted by such behaviour that they are never going to forget that she behaved in that way. It may well be the case that the narcissist that she is wants it removed, and it could well be accurate. The fact is, this disrespectful act of mock civility, its callousness and its cruelty, demonstrated her complete lack of class. It means that it's lasered into the minds of people that watched it. And now she's brought it up again with the supposed attempt to have it deleted from the record. The fact is, there are those that suggest that she's mocking herself. Horseshit. That is not accurate at all. She is mocking the Queen. She thinks that it's clever. She thinks that she's funny. There isn't a funny bone in this woman's body. She doesn't understand the meaning of humour. And yet, she thinks that it's suitable to behave that way. If Harry had any balls, but he doesn't because they're kept in her handbag, he would have given her a right old talking to afterwards. One might even suggest that he would have been merited in ensuring that she was locked in a cupboard without food and water for a period of time, in order to demonstrate his absolute disgust at her behaviour. It's no surprise that she's seeking to revise history by having its removal, and just demonstrates again the callous nature of this individual who, through compartmentalization and the revision of history, is seeking to nullify threats to control originating from her own behaviour. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.